All right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different.
Yeah.
Instead of, our usual deep dives into serious research papers or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be looking at something a little more on the fun side of things.
All right.
So
Sounds good.
we found this article online, and the title is Zodiac Signs as Your Favorite TV Characters Who's Who.
Interesting.
And we thought it'd be interesting to kind of take a look at this and see what we think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a unique lens to view pop culture through, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like using astrology to categorize these fictional characters.
Right.
Should be interesting.
So basically, the whole idea is that your zodiac sign
Yeah.
can determine or is at least somewhat related to your personality traits.
Right. And I mean, there are definitely common characteristics associated with each sign, right?
Yep.
Like if you're a Taurus, you're supposed to be down to earth and practical. And if you're a Gemini, you're supposed to be more adaptable and communicative.
Yeah, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
But, of course, this is all, for fun.
Yeah.
This isn't like a serious scientific...
Right, of course not. It's more for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a fun way to think about these characters.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so intriguing.
Yeah.
What we found so interesting about this article is that it doesn't actually tell you how they decided.
Right.
Like which characters
Yeah.
to assign to which sign.
It's like a mystery.
Like they don't give you any methodology or anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like they just threw it out there and
Yeah.
we're left to kind of figure out,
Right. What the connection is.
how they made those decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're going to try to do today.
Right.
We're going to look at some of the pairings that they made and kind of try to decipher,
Yeah.
Try
to understand the reasoning behind
the
it.
logic.
Exactly.
So the first one that really jumped out at me was
Okay.
Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones as a Leo.
Ooh. Interesting choice.
Right.
So the mother of dragons as a Leo.
Yeah. And at first glance, I was like, okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
She's, fierce, ambitious,
Yeah.
a natural born leader.
Right, like a classic Leo archetype in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when you think about it a little deeper,
Yeah.
Leos are also associated with fire.
Mm-hmm.
They're passionate, courageous, driven to lead.
Right.
But that same fire can also lead to self-centeredness
Oh, interesting.
if it's not tempered by wisdom and compassion.
Yeah.
And when you look at Daenerys's journey throughout the series,
Right.
it definitely embodies that complexity.
Right. She definitely struggles with that.
Yeah, we
she
know
wants
so.
to do good and she wants to, free people and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But she also very much desires power.
Yeah, there's that constant tension.
Yeah. And it's almost like she's battling her own astrological shadow sign.
Exactly. Like the dark side of the Leo,
Right. Exactly.
the potential for tyranny that comes with that fiery nature.
So it's really interesting pairing.
It is. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
Okay. So another one that kind of threw me for a loop
Okay.
was Michael Scott from The Office as a Cancer.
Michael Scott as a Cancer.
Yeah.
Now that's an interesting one because when you think of Cancer, you think of nurturing,
Yeah, caring.
emotional, sensitive.
Right.
But Michael is kind of the opposite of that on the surface, at least.
Yeah, exactly. He's hilarious, but
Mhm.
is he really that emotional and nurturing?
Yeah, it's not immediately apparent.
I'm not entirely convinced.
But here's the thing about Cancers, right?
Okay.
They're ruled by the moon,
Okay.
which makes them deeply intuitive and emotionally sensitive.
Okay.
So that might explain why Michael is actually really good at reading people.
Okay.
He can kind of sense what his coworkers are feeling,
Yeah.
even if his attempts to connect with them
Yeah.
often backfire
Often go horribly wrong.
in the most hilarious ways.
Yeah, I get it.
But it comes from a good place.
Okay. I can see that.
Right.
Yeah.
And also remember, Cancers are a water sign,
Hmm.
and water signs crave security
Okay.
and connection.
Right.
And if you think about Michael,
Yeah.
he's fiercely loyal to his Dunder Mifflin family.
He is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's less about traditional nurturing
Okay.
and more about that deep-seated need for belonging.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot more sense now that you put it that way.
Sure.
Considering those deeper astrological layers.
Yeah, it's all about the nuances.
Okay, so what about our listeners out there?
Yeah.
Have you thought about, your favorite characters
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not they share your zodiac sign?
Yeah, do their personalities align with those traits?
Yeah, or do they completely contradict everything about your sign?
Right, or maybe you're drawn to characters
Yeah.
who embody the, like, positive aspects of your sign.
Right.
Or maybe you're fascinated by the ones who represent the shadow side,
Ooh, that's a good point.
the less desirable traits
Yeah.
we all have to grapple with.
Like maybe we're subconsciously seeking out reflections of ourselves
Exactly.
in the stories we consume.
It's like we're trying to understand ourselves
Yeah.
through these fictional characters.
These characters, yeah.
And even though this whole article is, purely for entertainment, it does raise some interesting questions about how we perceive personality,
Right.
both in ourselves and in the characters that we connect with.
So maybe there's more to it than meets the eye.
Maybe so.
This has been a really fun
Yeah,
and unexpectedly thought-provoking deep dive.
I agree.
If you want to see the full list of pairings
Yeah,
and, play along at home, we'll link the article in the show notes.
sounds good.
Thanks for listening.